Welcome back to another video. How are we doing today? Lots and lots to talk about as always. Emergency Commander's Corner video. Big news out of the DMV. Kliff Kingsbury has agreed to mutually part ways with the Washington Commanders to pursue head coaching opportunities. So we can take a lot of things, John. Jay Nice. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for this emergency video. I just gotta say, Kliff, in my theory, Kliff was wanted to become a head coach again, and I think he wanted to pursue the opportunity. And this allows the Commanders to also look at potential OCs earlier rather than later, so we can get the best possible candidate. Whether that be Brian Daboll, maybe probably not Stefanski, could be David Blau, could be a lot of these guys. But anyway, some people are saying like, oh, DQ wanted to fire Kliff, and this is a way for Kliff to save face. AP wanted Kliff fired. But anyway, John, what do you think happens? Is this actually mutual? Do you think he was fired and wanted to save face?
Yeah, no, I think it's a lot of interesting points. Thanks for having me. I know we both are going hood up today. I think just to block out all the noise and the craziness going on with the coaching carousels. But no, I think if there's any rift or any type of hey, we might want to move on, any type sort of disagreement, you want to do that early, as you said, to make sure you have the chance to get the best possible candidate. You don't want to wait too long. I think that might have been kind of what happened in the coaching carousel when Dan Quinn got hired. It seemed like they wanted Ben Johnson, or there were some other candidates that were higher up. You don't get your top guy, and then you're kind of late in the cycle with interviewing other people if you hone in on one person and then don't get him. So, I think if you're going to pull the plug, you got to do it early. You got to make sure everyone's available at the time you're doing these interviews, and best of luck to Kliff. Maybe he gets another chance because he did put together one of the best rookie seasons with a quarterback we've seen, last year. So best of luck to him. I don't think it's necessarily as much to save face. I mean, he's been fired from a head coaching job before, and that's probably the highest peak of kind of that like humiliation. I know it's a job and it's the way the business goes at the NFL, but I think it's more so probably like, hey, if there's any sort of he's going to pursue opportunities, and then if he were to get something, we've missed out on a month or weeks or however long it's been, for him to, we've missed out on the chance for even looking for candidates. So, if I think there's any chance, there was a chance he was going to leave or pursue other opportunities, it's like, hey, let's give him the best chance. Let's give ourselves the best chance moving forward too.
All right, so I just want to ask. So AP and DQ had a press conference at the end of the season, and they didn't give a vote of confidence. At the time, I was like, oh, like maybe there's some turmoil, some like disconnect, and apparently now it's coming to life that there was disconnect. I don't know where the disconnect comes from. Reports were saying that Kliff was running no huddle, was putting too much pressure on the offense, or I mean, sorry, the defense to perform and play at a higher level. DQ wanted to run the ball more from under center, protect Jaden, number one, and number two, to keep their defense, which has been trashed the past 2 years, on the sidelines. So kind of interesting. Is not the problem, by the way. He has not been the problem the past 2 years. I would argue he was our best coach. However, I think what AP is doing what great GMs do, like Howie Roseman, Les Snead, moving off guys a year early. And that's the hard decision you have to make. I think I was indifferent, but I'm warming up to the idea of parting ways with Kliff, because you got to see beyond the curve. You got to buy Bitcoin in 2012 rather than 2026. You got to buy NVIDIA 5 years ago rather than now. You get what I mean, Jay Nice. It's like you got to make hard decisions, and this is a decision that AP is making. The Eagles moved off Carson Wentz a year after they won the Super Bowl. They moved off Nick Foles after he won Super Bowl MVP. Bill Belichick, how many players has he moved off of a year or two early when they're still good and they still got gas left in the tank? So I think next year, if we kept Kliff and ran it back, his system, his scheme would have been more predictable, more the same. So maybe the offense would have been worse or just stagnant, even with Jaden Daniels coming back, with Terry coming back. So I'm warming up to the idea that this is a good move and it's better for the long-term development of Jaden Daniels. What say you?
Yeah, totally. No, I think another thing I think too that our coordinators we haven't always seen in the past is I feel like with Terry, you have a legit number one receiver. And I never feel like we force the issue, right? Like defenses know Smith and Jigba is the only Seattle receiver. Like he's their best receiver. They know Justin Jefferson's the best receiver. Jamar Chase, like you name all these receivers, and it's like teams know that that's their best guy, Puka Nakua, right? And it's like, well, I know the Rams are a special case. You also have Devontae Adams and other playmakers, but it's like they teams try to take away the number one receiver, and I don't feel like with us we ever really featured Terry enough, where it's like, hey, Terry's our number one. If their D is shutting him down, like let's move him, let's motion him, let's do something to get him the ball. We want our best playmaker getting the ball in his hands. And there's games where Terry just kind of like Cliff sticks with his system or stuck with the scheme, and it's like, oh well, they're taking Terry away. We're gonna rely on De'Ami Brown or Noah Brown or whoever else to beat him as Zacchaeus, right? Like last year. So I do think that there's opportunities for a coordinator to come in with a new kind of philosophy and really feature our top players and not just be like, okay, the defense is going to take away this or shadow their best corner to that side. Well, all right, I'm going to trust my other guys. Like, no, if we have a number one, let's feature him. Let's move him. Let's make sure he's the key of the offense because you need that person with the ball in their hands as much as possible.
I completely agree. And like I think last year Terry was on the left side of the field for like 5 games straight. I forgot the stretch, and then fans and reporters kept asking Kliff like, why is Terry on the left side? And of course, as an OC, you're not going to give up your schemes right away, but I think that put pressure on Kliff to move Terry around finally. Obviously, we all know this. Kliff has a tendency to not adjust and is slow for adjustments. I think he can get in his own way, and that's a polite way of saying he has a bit too much of an ego of like, hey, maybe take from the Shanahan tree, take from this, take from that, instead of just pushing his thing out into the world because the QB power runs were not working. I think that was a big factor, but I also think like it, obviously last year, if you told me Kliff was leaving after the NFC Championship game, I would have like tore something down, torn my apartment down, John. But after the disappointing year, let's say if we made the playoffs and maybe won one game or didn't or lost in the first round and we fired Kliff, I think every fan would be so pissed and so mad. But the fact that we were 5-12 and Kliff agreed to mutually part ways, it was a good opportunity to do so. And I think back to like Ben Johnson spurning us. The reports came out that DQ was actually higher up on the list rather than like third or fourth. In my opinion, John, I really because AP comes from the Shanahan tree from San Francisco. He sees the work Shanahan does. He sees the offensive mold, offensive coaches, the schemers as head coaches, how important that is. So I really do believe Ben Johnson was a clear-cut number one favorite. So many reports were coming out that Ben Johnson to the Commanders was a done deal. And I think DQ was really the plan C or D. I really truly believe that. But DQ is such a guy, such a dude that it's hard not to like him. But I do think, John, DQC is scorching hot. If we don't at least win one playoff game next year, DQ is gone. I truly believe that. What say you?
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. It was already warm as we talked about last time. It's only going to keep getting warmer. It's going to be a big year, right? Year three of Jaden, you got to hope he stays healthier. That I think that'll help everything. But year three is kind of that year. At least with the receivers, they always say you kind of start to find your footing and really start to hit your stride in a sense. It kind of takes you a couple of years. We saw Jaden come in and light it up his rookie year. I think he's got the tools to run it back when he's healthy and do it again. But yeah, we need to see an improved defense. We need to see him nail these coordinator hires, right? Because now it's like AP brought in his guy, and now you brought in your coordinators, and they're both gone. So now it's like it's on you as the head coach, right? You can bring in your coordinators, both sides of the ball, right? No excuses now. You're going to get a hand with AP to pick who you want, both sides of the ball. So
Yeah. Just want to ask, what do you think Kliff lands? Reports are saying that Colin Cowherd mentioned that Kliff should just be a college coach and not an NFL coach, just because of his scheme, the air raid system. So, but do you think a potential team is going to reach out and give Kliff Kingsbury another head coaching opportunity, college or?
I do think so. I think the Ravens are an interesting team just because we've seen Kliff have success with mobile quarterbacks. It seems like that move that can get outside the pocket. You see that obviously Lamar Jackson. We've seen that with Kyler Murray, Jaden. Those quarterbacks that have that running ability. So I think teams that have a mobile quarterback, it seems like his system meshes the best with. Caleb Williams in college, I think Mahomes in college, right? Those quarterbacks don't have to be a stationary pocket passer. So I do think he's probably going to get some interviews. I think the Ravens, maybe Atlanta, if they want to go with Penix as the quarterback over Cousins. I think there's teams out there that he probably does get interviews. I think the Giants were another name I saw, or a team that came up, right? Jackson Dart can get outside the pocket. So he probably does get interviews. I wish him luck if he gets a head coaching gig. I think he deserves a chance. I think you see a lot of guys, these retread hires, but, Kliff is young. He's had success with different quarterbacks in college and in the pros. So, I think he does get another shot. I think it's probably going to be a team that has a mobile quarterback that can move the pocket as well.
The Ravens would be a huge upgrade. That's the best job on the market for a potential head coach. The Giants would be funny because he'd just go to a division rival, which would suck, but I still don't believe in the Giants. Here's the thing, John. I'm going to throw something at you. Apparently, there are reports that our next OC is going to be a better coaching candidate than some teams' next head coach. For example, like let's say we get Stefanski as an OC. Not going to happen. Stefanski's going to get a head coaching job somewhere. But that's just an example. And like the Cardinals, the Browns, and the Titans are not going to get a great head coaching candidate just because a great head coaching candidate like Stefanski is not going to go to a dumpster fire like that. I know the Browns just fired him. That's just an example of chat. But you know what I mean. They're going to get the next B, C, or D guy because the Titans are just a trash organization. Maybe the Dolphins, the Browns, the Cardinals are all trash. So I'm going to throw this at you. Brian Dable as our next OC. Did we talk about that last time? I forgot.
A little bit. Yeah, no, I think I would take him, right? I think he's probably a guy that maybe is better off as a coordinator than a head coach. We've seen him have success. Maybe the only hesitation there is Josh Allen, I think Josh Allen was going to be successful regardless who his coordinator was. There's been reports he kind of ran Jackson Dart into the ground a little bit in New York this past year. But, I mean, he was all for Jaden. I think one positive to look at it, we talked about with the Hard Knocks, he was all over Jaden in terms of, which quarterback he felt strongly about from that class. So, I mean, obviously he's believed in Jaden. So, he's familiar with him. He scouted him. He was open to the Giants moving up to take him if they had the chance. So, I mean, yeah, I think he would come in, and I think he'd run a system that would benefit Jaden, feature Terry. I think there's potential for Dable to have success here too.
I completely agree. How about this? The Lions interviewing current quarterback coach David Blau, former player, only 30 years old, John, to be their OC. He was assistant QB coach for like a year and a half, QB coach for half a season, and now he could potentially be promoted to OC just like that. I think he is an OC head coach in the future in waiting. He is extremely young. He hasn't been a coach for that long. But Dan Campbell sees the potential in him because he's been with the practice squad for the Lions for so long. Obviously, he stuck around the NFL for a few years. He didn't have arm talent. He wasn't fast at all. But there's something about him. His mind must be elite. So Dan Campbell might take that opportunity. I don't think the Lions do. They probably just interviewed him just to see where his head's at because I think the Lions should go for someone else. However, it does say that if David Blau can stay and maybe not be promoted, but he can stay with that organization, he could eventually be promoted to be a potential OC in the future and maybe head coach. What'd you think of that report?
Yeah, and to go back to your other question too, I think, because we have Jaden and similar to the Ravens having Lamar, I think there is a chance you get a coordinator that's could have taken a head coaching job just because, in my opinion, the quarterback position is so important. So I think these if I have a chance to be a head coach of the Jets, it's man, that's going to be a tough job. The media is all on you. They've been bad for so long. They don't have a franchise quarterback in place. It's or could I be the OC of a team like the Commanders who has promise from a year ago? You have a quarterback. I think that could be where, we end up getting a better coordinator candidate, as that report had said. And yeah, just David Blau, it's pretty fast to move up the ranks that quickly. Reminds me a little bit of Kellen Moore, right? Former Cowboys quarterback, kind of was their OC and in the room. And then, now he's a head coach of the Saints. So it seems like he's probably following a similar track as someone like Kellen Moore. But yeah, I mean, Blau's only 30, obviously he's got to have the smarts to kind of know where the ball needs to go, just doesn't have the physical tools and talent to get it there or athletic enough. And, not every guy is. So yeah, I mean, obviously he's He's got a lot of confidence. It seems like the guys on the Hard Knocks from this season with the Commanders really like him in the quarterback room. And I mean, it'd be a shame if he left because you'd be losing a lot of guys that were a big part of Jaden's, development in these last couple of years, and voices in the room, I guess you could say. So yeah, I mean, it's also going to be interesting too, right? If like Blau leaves, Kliff's already gone. Does Mariota follow Kliff somewhere, right, to have a chance to be the starting quarterback? So there's going to be a lot of changes in that room. I think Jaden is a good enough player and talented enough to overcome whatever challenges or adversity in terms of new voices, new coaches on the staff around him. Yeah, I think he's willing to listen and be open minded. I think there's been reports where Caleb, doesn't really listen to coaches, or the whole Eberflus disaster from last year. So I don't think Jaden's that type of guy that's not going to listen to new voices in the room. I think he's a team guy, just wants to win. So it's going to be interesting. There's going to be potentially a lot of new faces, maybe even a new backup. So it's just going to be an interesting offseason.
So I want to throw this at you, John. Jordan Schultz. Do you know who he is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know he's the son of Howard Schultz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I just want to point out that this dude's a trust fund baby. He got the intern because, his dad is the CEO of Starbucks and probably paid his way to get the internship and worked his way up to now being an NFL inside reporter. I do not take anything Jordan Schultz says seriously, just because of who his family is, who his father is. But he was kind of right about the Terry situation. I'll give him credit for that. He also wanted to throw hands with Ian Rappaport, and I trust Ian Rappaport in a marathon times 50, okay? However, Jordan Schultz reports that there was disconnect between AP and Kliff and the head coaching opportunity. We were talking about this a little earlier, but I just want to say this for the audience out there, that I think AP was just asking DQ, hey, what's going on with Sinnott? Why is Sinnott not playing? Is Sinnott really that bad? Or maybe you're not developing Sinnott that much. I don't think AP kind of came in like dick swinging, like, yo, you got to play my guys. You got to play my guys, man. Like, I drafted him for a reason. Because Kliff also had a say in drafting Sinnott, right? Because AP asked Kliff during the draft video, go watch a 2024 draft video. He's like, AP was like, yo, Kliff, do you like Sinnott? How are you going to use him? And Kliff was like, yeah, he's a dog. He's going to be like, I'm going to line him up everywhere, tight end, fullback. And he didn't. So it's kind of like, I think any great GM is going to like just ask their head coach, how are these players developing? We're still rebuilding. Like, these are young guys we want to give opportunities to. AP was probably like, yo, why isn't Johnny Newton playing more? Why is Chris Moore playing? He's kind of like a stopgap. But I don't take anything Jordan Schultz says seriously. I just had to fry him a little bit, John. But yeah, I mean, what do you take away from this Jordan Schultz report?
I think the truth is probably somewhere a little bit in the middle there. I think it's probably, as you said, it's probably just like questioning, like, hey, why haven't these guys seen the field? Why haven't they gotten more playing time? I don't buy into 100% as you're saying. It's probably a half truth, probably a little bit of truth to it, but maybe not as extreme as the reports making it out to be. But yeah, no, I think any GM is going to want their guys that they drafted to play. You see that with any sport, right? You want to bring in your guys and play the guys you believe in and you brought on board. So it's probably somewhere, like, the truth's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. I think either Joe Witt's agent or Kliff's agent leaked that. Most likely Joe Witt, just because Joe Witt's future as a defensive coordinator, maybe head coach in the future, is very, very thin right now. He's probably just going to be a position coach for the rest of his life, which is fine. He still makes six figures, but, you want to make those millions. Okay, so talk about Jordan Schultz for a little bit. AP asked about the young guys. Now, John Harbaugh got fired last night, which is interesting. I know they're our crosstown rival, the Ravens. We don't care about them. They're in the other conference. However, there are reports that there are teams with head coaches contacting John Harbaugh for interviews or like interest. Now, in my speculation, I think it's the Dolphins and the Bucks. Two teams, I think, are contacting John Harbaugh. But there are some like media guys like us saying John Harbaugh is the perfect fit for Washington. So John, let me ask, would you be okay or happy firing DQ right now and hiring John Harbaugh?
I would say no, just because I think Dan Quinn is such a beloved coach among the players in the locker room. So I don't think you want to jeopardize losing the room just to bring in a guy like a Harbaugh. Um, I think he's definitely going to get another coaching job. Um, I think the people, the Baltimore fans, and stuff fell stale. And I don't watch every Ravens minute, so I don't know their team as their fans do. But it seems like based on his track record and getting Super Bowls and winning records and all this stuff, like he's gonna get another chance somewhere in another gig just based on his track record. But no, I don't think. I think you have AP in place, you have DQ. He's gonna bring in. He has a pick of the litter in terms of both sides of the ball, who he wants to bring in, and he's got to nail it. He's got to 100% nail it to keep, stick around here after next season. So I don't think they go that extreme and pull the plug and go after Harbaugh. But no, I think some team definitely is for sure. He's gonna need another shot.
Yeah, yeah. John Harbaugh's going to get a job in a second, whether it's the Bills if they lose in the first round, the Dolphins, just to clean up the culture. Maybe the Giants. The Giants would. I would hate if John Harbaugh went to the Giants. That'd be awful.
Hmm.
Stay out of New York. Anyway,
Yeah.
stay out of New York. Okay. Anyway, one last thing. Jordan Schultz sucks. Sorry, just had to throw that out there again. Um, Gosh, sorry, I just literally forgot that. I'm kind of just going through shit I want to talk about. Everyone's saying the John Harbaugh situation is fascinating. Yeah, these leaks are coming out. It's probably agents, media guys just trying to get clicks, trying to stay relevant. Like I said, Jordan Schultz trying to stay relevant. Oh, sorry, I just remembered. Bobby Slowick and the OC for the Niners and or the Rams. Bobby Slowick was interviewed to be our head coach after one season as OC for the Texans. Saved the Texans that year, got fired for stale, stagnant offense, whatever adjustments. Now he's like the passing game coordinator for the Dolphins. I think Bobby Slowick is a name to look out for to be OC. Maybe a new scene, a new change can bring out the best of him. I think Clay Kubiak is the OC for the Niners. He doesn't call plays. I think Shanahan would be okay with him going. Obviously, that's the San Francisco tie as well. Also, this gives a Kubiak from the Shanahan tree a chance to shine.
Hmm.
And then whoever the Rams OC is, I think it's Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur.
Yeah.
That's LaFleur's brother. It's just all brothers. Oh my God, it's all brothers. Uh, Give him a shot to be OC. I don't think Mike LaFleur would be um, a head coach anytime soon, but to be an OC to call plays, absolutely, absolutely. So, what do
Yeah.
you think of those guys?
I think it's always tough. Like similar to God, what's his name that was here under Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, right? I think it's always kind of tough to know how much of it is the OC, how much of it is the head coach is so great. So my only worry with like bringing in someone from the Rams OC or like the Niners is how much is it really Shanahan and McVay just running the show still, even though they're the head coach. That'd be my only hesitation with those type of guys. Just because we know from the Shanahan tree like how successful all those coaches are. So I think they should go that direction with their OC. I just worry those guys that are under McVay's and under the Shanahans because I feel like they're still running the show. And we saw a little bit of that with Bieniemy, with Andy Reid, where we took Bieniemy out of the Chiefs, out of Kansas City, put him here, and it was just terrible, right? Like we just did not see the Andy Reid magic that we thought we were going to see. So I think that'd probably be my only hesitation with bringing in those type of candidates.
Yeah, and I agree. I honestly I agree with you. Gotta say though, someone like Nick Cali, current OC for the Texans, he was last year for the tight ends coach and passing game coordinator for the Rams. So he's a McVay guy. However, he struggled this year, especially in the beginning of the season. I don't think he's good at all. So there are hit and miss. There are guys like KOC, Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur, in my opinion, is under the Shanahan tree, under McVay and Shanahan. But like I don't know. It's hard to bet for them just because there are misses from them. Just because you're around them doesn't mean you're great too.
Hmm.
Dable's my number one. However, you can't get Dable, then you're gonna have to go. Might have to go for the Shanahan tree. Clay Kubiak would probably be one for me. Bobby Slowick, just because he has experience. Mike LaFleur would be interesting, just because he's been an OC at different spots.
Hmm.
Because he doesn't have experience play calling. Neither did Mike McDaniel or KOC for a little bit, but KOC and Mike McDaniel didn't have that much experience, but they were so smart and schematically that it didn't matter. They could just say the play and they ran it and it was successful. So big hopes. You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, no, I think we covered everything, and yeah, just gonna be an interesting couple weeks and every month, see how everything kind of plays out.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching so much. Like, comment, subscribe. What should we talk about next? I'm Z Shaw.
I'm Jay Nice.
All right. Thank you again. Emergency Commanders video. We will have another one as soon as the OC and DC roles are filled. But in the meantime, deuces.